Hi, YouTube. Suki here with another thought for the day. So today we're going to discuss the negotiations between the Trump and Iran. So on one hand, Trump is demanding that number one, no nuclear enrichment. Number two, no missiles or less missiles, and number three, less support for proxy groups. Which honestly, Iran shouldn't have the money to support them anyway. Uh, Number four, Iran, on the other hand, is saying that they will lower enrichment to a certain level, but U.S. has to ease sanctions. Now, the first thing I want us to address is somehow there's this collective amnesia that says that the reduction of missiles, the uh, the support for the Houthis and the Hezbollah and Hamas and the other terrorist groups are somehow a last-minute demand imposed by Israel. So I just want to remind people that back in 2015, uh, the GOP senator, so this is March 9, 2015, they already sent a letter to Iran while Obama was negotiating the JCPOA that said they would not honor that deal. Why? Because it did not include the proxy groups and it did not include the missiles. See, Obama knew that he would not be able to get a deal with the missiles and the proxy groups, which is why he didn't try. Uh, However, the Republicans knew that the nuclear weapons is only one part of the power of Iran that makes them very strong in the region. And that if you actually gave them sanctions relief in place of the nuclear weapons, then all that they would do is then redirect the sanctions relief towards their missiles and towards their proxy groups, which means that the problem wasn't actually solved, which is why they did this letter, and which is why Trump backed out of the JCPOA back in when he first got elected. Because again, the Republicans already said they would do it, so it's not a demand coming out of nowhere. This is a demand that's been there for a while. Now, why is Trump frustrated against Iran? Iran is actually saying that okay, we'll give up nuclear enrichment, but you give up sanctions relief. So essentially, they're just agreeing to JCPOA all over again. The problem with that is that you already destroyed a lot of their nuclear enrichment capability way back in Midnight Hammer. So they're actually not giving you anything. They're just telling you to release the sanctions and then you would then they would give you essentially nothing because they can't enrich uranium anyway. And at the state of their economy, they can't really do that right now because they have no money. So that's why the negotiations are at a standstill. Now, let's go back to Iran. Why is the negotiations at a standstill? So, Trump is not actually negotiating. He's laying out terms of surrender, which is why Witkoff used the term capitulation in his speech when he said that Trump was getting or curious when he said Trump was getting frustrated or curious why Iran wasn't surrendering it. Now, Iran. The problem right now is that Iran actually doesn't realize that they're under attack yet, but the U.S. has been attacking Iran for the longest time already. The the main I actually think that this entire military thing, this is just smoke and mirrors. The main avenue of attack is economic. This actually all started with the sanctions, right? So Iran has been under sanctions for the longest time, and the way that they got through that sanctions was that they would assign their companies to certain people called trustees, and then these trustees would be in another country. Now they would buy and sell oil or other goods in that country, and then they would send the dollars back to Iran. Now, it just so happened to the misfortune of Iran, the country that they chose was UAE, or United Arab Emirates. That turned out to be the worst choice of all to use. Why? Because UAE and Israel are part of the Abraham Accords. Now, there's no way Iran could have known this when it first started this, but that's what happened. So that means that every agent they had in that area became compromised. So whether it's through Mossad or whether it's through CIA or UAE or whether they just got greedy, all of the trustees suddenly stopped sending dollars back to Iran. Now, whether it's a US thing, an Israel thing, or they got greedy, the effect is the same. The dollar flow stopped coming to Iran. Now, Iran responded in the worst possible way. What they actually did was reduce the value of their currency or let their currency float, so much so that so as to tempt the trustees to send the money back to Iran. See, they thought that they could tempt the trustees into sending back the money with better economic conditions. However, if the trustees were compromised in the first place, then the money's not coming back at all. So what happened is that what you know is that Iran's value, the currency of Iran dropped in value overnight. So right now it's at 1.5 million riyal to $1. Uh, Earlier on this month it was at 1.3 or 1.4. So every week or so it's dropping by 5 to 10%, and of course that's not sustainable. Um, so that's actually the avenue of attack on the U.S., and that's the one that actually damages Iran the most because that's what's causing the revolts. That's what caused the Basiji revolt or the not Basiji, the what do you call that, the merchant revolt, the one in the Grand Bazaar. They couldn't import goods anymore because it cost too much, and they were left holding a lot of inventory. Now the problem is that Iran doesn't actually Iran is not considering surrender yet because I don't think they realize that the financial portion is also under attack by the U.S. Um, you can actually the U.S. Finance Secretary Bessett, I think it was. He actually said in a conference that this was economic statecraft, and this guy Bessett actually worked with Soros before in the long time ago to engineer the Asian financial crisis. So he has experience devaluing currencies, and that's what he's there for. So um, you have one side who's not yet realizing that they're under attack, and you have another side that is waiting for that other side to surrender. So since they're operating in two different levels of reality, nothing's happening. So now the problem with Iran is since they don't realize that the economic angle is actually an attack, they're actually making all the worst decisions. Now, for example, remember the recent protests, the one with the merchants and stuff. So they blocked all internet for I think it might have been a week, maybe more. So supporters of Iran would say, "Well, that's smart, right? You guys were giving orders to the Mossad, and CIA was giving orders to the protesters, and when the coverage stopped, the protesters died out. Now the problem with that is that remember this is primarily an economic attack. When you shut down your internet for a week, your small and medium businesses rely on their internet for sales. So there's a week where they have like now no sales at all, which means half of them shut down their businesses. So Iran actually dug themselves even deeper into the hole. Now their other reaction was to give something like $8 per family or per person for the next 3 months. $8 per month for the next 3 months. So as you can imagine, the number one problem of Iran right now is inflation, right? And the way they combat inflation is by giving everyone more money. In what world does that work out? So you guys, as you can see, if you do that, you actually worsen inflation. But Iran's in a hard place because they don't really have any answers to this, which is why we go back to the main point, which is that Trump is wondering, why aren't you guys surrendering? You guys have no way out, and Iran's here not realizing that oh, we're under attack. So who's at fault here? Honestly, I think the one that is at fault is like the mediators, Oman, and other countries. So the U.S. side can't really directly say, like, we're kind of screwing your economy here, and that's how we're gonna get you. Because you can't say that. The mediators are just supposed to tell Iran, like, hey, this is what's happening. You guys should make a deal already. Because the further this goes, the more Iran goes towards the path of Argentina, where their currency is worth totally nothing. So that's where we are in the negotiations. That's why no no deal is reached. Now, do I expect an imminent attack? There's a State of the Union tonight. I don't expect an attack till then. In fact, I expect Trump is a WWE guy, so special guests and stuff. I actually expect Cuba to surrender sometime during the State of the Union. Now, do I expect? In fact, I made a prediction before already to my friends that I didn't expect an attack before the end of the Olympics, because you don't want to mess with that. Um, so, do I expect an attack after that? I do think so because Iran still hasn't realized that they're under attack and they should. Now, is it just gonna be a bombing attack? I don't expect so. So, Vance has been meeting with people in Azerbaijan and Armenia, and the northern provinces of Iran here are called South Azerbaijan by the Azerbaijanis. So I expect that some breakaway groups there will try and break away from Iran while bombing happens. Over here near the Pakistan area, you have some other minority groups as well. I would expect they break through. There's some Kurds there somewhere. I just don't know where. And I know that the Turkic people have some breakaway groups here as well that can break away. So I expect the U.S. to supply those with weapons to encourage them to break away. While most of Iran is still gonna be Persian and Muslim, there are enough small groups to make life difficult for them. Um, Most of Iran's oil is located in the coasts and stuff. So I expect they would destroy it for financial ruin of Iran. So I don't expect Iran to really be able to fight for a long time, like what I said in the other video. I don't expect this to last a month. Um, is Iran gonna be a democracy? Trump doesn't care. As long as you can get a government friendly to the U.S., that's enough. So you have to view this ultimately Iran, Venezuela, Cuba. These are all just pawns. Trump views everything as a great game versus China. See, we're deciding who's going to be the next empire of the world. Whether it's going to continue to be the U.S. or whether as we transition towards the end of the century, we're going to transition towards the Chinese empire. So what's happening right now is that Trump is replacing all of the friendly governments of China to the U.S. So that we would have more influence over them and we can block China out. Now, China, on the other hand, is starting to build their Belt and Road Initiative so that they can trade throughout Eurasia without being at risk of the U.S. Navy. But that's another discussion totally. So basically, that's where we are at the Iranian negotiations and why it's failing and where I expect it to go. I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a great day.